Hi, I'm Peter Sklar. One of the biggest misconceptions that aspiring actors have in the entertainment field is that they're going to do this, they're going to make this happen with their resumes and who they know and their looks and their talent and training. And all of these things are like air, which means they're essential, you have to have them, but everybody has them. And it doesn't explain why 90% of the most talented, most highly trained, most self-motivated, most well-connected, most good-looking actors, singers and dancers, certainly in New York and Hollywood, are also the most unemployed. I think the actors' equity rate is around 90%. And what I've discovered over many, many years of watching this closely is that there's something else going on which the casting directors respond to much more enthusiastically, and that's the word real. And sometimes when you ask them, what are you looking for? They say, we don't know, but if it's real, we'll know. If it's not, I think Mike Nichols once said, if it's real, it will work. If it's not, it will stink. So you have casting directors who paid an awful lot of money not to be wrong. They have to know what a person's like in terms of how those viewers that we, speaking as a producer, spend millions of dollars to get into those seats to watch the show or to sit home and to turn on that channel. And if those viewers, if that audience doesn't root for you and believe you and care for you and like you, nobody cares who you know or how many classes you've had. You're not going to work very long in this business. So the word they use is real. Somebody who's genuine and real and can show who they are has a tremendous advantage over somebody who can't. My contribution to this process is enabling young people of all ages, right into mid-20s and beyond, to be real at these interviews, whether these are interviews for college, whether for jobs, for auditions and interviews for show business. But they can't do that if they don't like what they're showing. It's just like if you have a sweater or a shirt, you have something that you like and you feel good about, you show it to people, you let people see it. And if that thing is you, and somebody's standing there asking you questions about you or sitting there, and you're sitting there believing, if this person finds out what I'm really like, he's not going to like me, you're going to be fake. You're not going to be very open. People don't walk into important interviews and go, hi, I stink. You're going to sparkle, bubble, and shine and do all of these things that these highly trained casting people are paid to see through. So I always ask the question, what's your real? Are you genuine? Are you open? Are you happy? Are you healthy? And the only way that you can have an impact on things like your ability to show who you are is to make progress on liking who you are. And that starts with self-awareness. You have to really practice being aware of how you really feel about you. Your feelings are like vampires. Suppose a vampire comes into your house and says, hi, I'm in your house. And you say, get out, go, we don't want you here. We only want happy things today. The vampire will eat you. If you turn your back on the vampire, put your fingers in your ears, close your eyes, and sing the I'm ignoring you song, the vampire will eat you from behind. But if you can somehow hold out till the sun comes out in the morning, bathe the vampire in the room with brightness and sunlight and light, depending on which movie you've seen, the vampire is either going to burst into flames or turn to dust or sparkle. He's going to lose his powers. And your feelings about yourself are like that. You can't tell them to get out of your head. You can't ignore them. You have to put light on them. You have to practice being aware of how you really feel about you. You cannot go into these auditions and interviews without bringing your body. And your body has a direct impact on how you feel physically and mentally. Again, actors don't walk into auditions and go, hi, I feel terrible. But what if they do? They don't say things like, I'm fat, I'm not very pretty, everybody you've seen today is more talented than me, my stomach hurts, I've got no energy, I'm tired. And so my face is broken out, I'm very self-conscious about my acne and so forth and so on. And that's not what people say, but they routinely will walk into auditions and interviews feeling less than optimal. They're tired, they didn't get enough sleep, their blood sugar is either on the floor or they're bouncing off the walls. If you don't get up in the morning after a good night's sleep, have a big healthy protein-rich breakfast, eat lots of green vegetables during the day, drink more water, cut your sugar and caffeine down to very little, wash your hands more often, exercise. If you don't do these things, if you don't take care of this body, if you don't invest in that on a daily basis, you will not have the energy or the appearance to convince enough of us to hire you often enough to work in this industry. One of the biggest problems that I have faced is trying to convince young people that having a serious romantic relationship when you're trying to do something along the lines of being self-employed, such as being a performer, will not work if you have this serious romantic relationship. When you have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, and it's serious, and things are going well, you have a support system. You have somebody who's there for you, somebody who keeps you from being alone, somebody you can talk to, and you can't help it. As a young person, you don't need other things as much. You will not try as hard, you will not go as far, you won't need this thing as much as somebody who's single. Sort of like two people in a very cold room, say it's 10 degrees, and you've got two people each in their own bed, they're wearing pajamas, one of them is covered with lots of blankets and comforters, the other person is just wearing pajamas. Suddenly, for some reason, it's extremely important, they both have to jump out of bed, they both have to get up, it's an emergency. The question is, which one is going to jump out of bed first? Is the person covered with blankets and comforters going to throw them off and jump out first? And the answer is probably not. That's your boyfriend, that's your girlfriend. You will never jump out of that metaphorical bed as fast as the person who doesn't have all those comfort levels. In this business, you can have God if you want, you can have your family, you can have your closest non-romantic friends, and your career. And that's all you get until you're about 25, mature, you're more of who you're going to be, and at that point you certainly can handle a serious romantic relationship, not before. One of the most destructive things that people tell aspiring performers in all walks of life, anybody with a dream, is going to have somebody who cares about them, somebody who's trying to protect them, say something like, there's so much competition and so much rejection in this field that you need something more practical and realistic to fall back on. And this is somebody saying to you, we know this is your dream, we know this is what you really want to do, we know this is who you are and how you see yourself, but go spend a lot of time and money on this other thing that you don't like as much just in case you fail. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If that were a college course, it would be called How to Fail 101. It's not very good career advice. It's very important to work hard and to work smart at something you love. Working smart means picking something that you love. It means taking care of yourself physically. It means taking care of yourself emotionally. It means developing self-discipline and maturity. It means being single and independent. And it means not being talked out of your dreams. And the people who are doing this, unfortunately, are people who very often are trying to protect you. They love you, they care, they mean well. But you have to politely and respectfully ignore that advice. The problem is working hard and working smart at something you don't love is basing a decision on fear. And whenever you base a decision on fear, you're not going to be your smartest, you're not going to be your best. There are healthy fears and there are unhealthy fears. And healthy fears are things you should acknowledge. Avoiding self-destructive behavior. Self-destructive behavior would be a healthy fear. You should be afraid of that. Following negative peer pressure, you should be afraid of that. Getting up on top of a tall building and jumping off, that's probably something you should be afraid of. That's probably a healthy fear. Unhealthy fears are where you're afraid to express yourself, you're afraid to do something you really want, you're afraid to move in a direction that you sense would be fulfilling for you because you're scared you'll fail, or you're scared that too many people will disapprove, you won't have enough support for it, and that's an unhealthy fear. And those are the kinds of fears you do not want to base decisions on. About 32 years ago, I had this idea. As I was fresh out of Harvard, I was beginning to realize that the kids who I instinctively felt were the most marketable kids, the kids who were best looking, kids who had the best training, maybe even the most passion and such, weren't necessarily the most marketable kids. And I developed a workshop called Beginnings. And the purpose of Beginnings is I didn't want the workshop to be less than the best. I wanted to make sure I had people who were not necessarily instructors. In fact, most of my teachers after 32 years are still not instructors. These are people who are doing this for a living. We have 3 programs. We have a program in New York which focuses on acting, voice, and dance, and most of our teachers are Broadway professionals, casting directors, writers, choreographers. And at the end of the program, we book a major off-Broadway theater, and these kids earn themselves an off-Broadway theater credit. And we format a resume for them, which will show that. We have a program in Hollywood where we work with some on-set film and TV coaches and some film directors, and they tour some of the movie studios and the television studios. And we also run a workshop in London and Stratford where our kids work directly with the Royal Shakespeare Company and study with British writers and directors. And one of the, I think, to me, one of the most exciting dynamics of all of this is that whatever the population of our students that is thinking in their hearts, whatever their ages, 10, 12, 14, 16, that this might be something they want to do for their living professionally, they know at the end of the week whether or not this is really what's meant to be. They're exposed to the lifestyle, they're exposed to the kind of the breakfast they have to eat in the morning, the kinds of people they have to interact with. There's a lot of focus on how they feel about themselves, opening up, self-awareness, self-discipline, maturity, all of the things that are required to be successful in any field. I think the entertainment arts is a microcosmic example of that, and we certainly try to capture that as part of our curriculum. So between the regimen, the training, the lifestyle, and the exposure to people who are doing this for a living already, kids don't look back after this program and wonder whether or not this is something they wanted to do. They know. And they know how realistic it is, and they know what it takes, and they're much better able to make a decision. I'm Peter Sklar. Thanks for watching.